Hello, awesome people. I hope you are having just an absolutely magnificent day today. Today I'm going to be taking a look at my 5 top favorite roguelike games from you folks. Rogue is a game that was created way back when. It was a dungeon delving RPG originally created in the late 70s for you folks. It's inspired tons and tons of the games. Now I'm going to be looking at what I consider to be my personal top 5 roguelike, not roguelite. Those words sound similar, but they're actually not. Roguelike games that I'm going to be doing are games that are inspired by Rogue. They have a lot of the same genres of stuff, graphics, concepts, dungeon delving, right? That sort of a thing. Whereas what's happening with roguelite games are games that have things that might be like permadeath or some elements like that, or harder games. Just have one or two elements that are sort of inspired by Rogue rather than actually proper, more of a deep dive, if you will, right? So I'm going to be looking at those for you folks. This is not going to be reviews of these games, so just a heads up. So what I'll be doing instead of doing reviews is just a faster sort of a reminder of what's happening, if you will, okay? So let's go ahead and start with an honorable mention, and that is, of course, Rogue proper, right? Rogue is great stuff. It had a lot of fun stuff that was happening, right? You could do a deeper dive into a module. You didn't go back up. You just kept deep diving. You were a little, you were a little person as an at symbol. You moved around a map of ASCII characters. You came across things like potions and scrolls that you could read, and then once you read or collected them, then you would be able to identify them unless you had an ID spell. You were playing various different characters, right? And so forth. I played this when I was a kid about 5 or 6 times, and so forth, and got a sort of a feel of what that was like, right? The actual proper Rogue proper for you folks. Now let's get started with number 5. Number 5 is a few years later, in the next decade. That's the 80s, and this is Maj'Eyal for you folks. And Maj'Eyal, the guy who created it, was oftentimes thinking that Rogue was trying to find it and couldn't find it, so he figured he'd just make it himself, and he tried to make it a little harder than a Rogue. Basically, he handed it out to his friends, and every time they found a way of defeating the things, he would make it harder and shut down that way of avenue of defeat, because he wanted to make it intentionally harder than Rogue itself. It's set in the caves of Maj'Eyal in Middle Earth. You have to defeat the Balrog on the 50th level in order to win the game. It goes down to level 50 rather than Rogue. It also has a lot of things that it adds to the Rogue. Can't vaults, out of depth rooms, those sorts of things, monster pits, those sorts of things. I put hundreds of hours into it prior to playing. I actually played this before I played Rogue, but I wanted to see what Rogue was like as a kid too. I was a co-sop of a bulletin board system, and we had these for free. As a reminder, these games are usually freeware. I'll try to link you to in the comments below for Maj'Eyal and the one. I don't know if Maj'Eyal can be found. I haven't looked, but I know that the other ones have recent free versions for you folks. We're going to be playing online, so all these are free. You don't have to spend any money for them. All those, if you're going to play a lot of it, I would recommend giving some money to the person who created it and is maintaining it, because they did a good job. Because you're going to put like hundreds of hours into a roguelike game, right? All right, that was number 5, Maj'Eyal. Number 4 is Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, which I played recently online. It was fun stuff, loved it lots. It's definitely a different take on the roguelike game than the typical curve that I enjoyed. So I put up a couple of run-throughs of Crawl, and it was good stuff. Liked it lots, and enjoyed what was happening in this game too. It's different. Like I said, has a different take than the traditional Rogue to Maj'Eyal, number 3 to number 2 to number 1. So I do like that it has a different interpretation of what Rogue means to the creator. It has a lot of fans. Great game. Loved it lots. So that's Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup for you folks. Enjoy it. It's number 4 game. Number 3 is the next game that I mentioned in that genre, and it's Angband. Basically, the idea behind Angband is that some people felt that Maj'Eyal wasn't taking the Middle-earth genre really fully to its full degree that it could have. So, for example, it had a lot of characters that were just from Dungeons and Dragons, right? So it wanted to push the Tolkienian theme. So it pushes it back to the first stage and set in Angband. The big bad on level is they push it back from level 50 to level 100. It's actually the big bad Melkor, Morgoth himself, big bad. You'll also have to fight people like Sauron too, the Balrogs, all those sorts of things. The vampires that are from the first stage of Middle Earth that are out there, the werewolves, Charkarad, the King Middle, all these things that are actually from the legendarium of him too, right? And so forth. It's very, very hard. It adds a lot of elements of resistance, things like nexuses and chaos, those sorts of things you're going to have resistances to. It's a heavy, heavy thing. Nether, those sorts of things. So it adds elements. It also has a lot of things that people still would criticize it for. It's like, it's not truly Middle Earth. It'll add still more D&D things it'll add or not take out from Moria proper, and so forth. But I mean, it still has Farmer Hobbit, his things. Now, what Angband does add, as well as Moria, is an above ground sort of hometown for you to buy and sell stuff at, right? And Angband will expand on that too, from the original Rogue proper, if you will. That's number 3, Angband for you folks. And number 2 is the evolution of Angband. Just like Angband was the evolution of Moria, Moria is the evolution of Rogue. And it's Zangband for you folks. Now, Zangband is the Richard Zelazny interpretation of Angband by some fans. This is basically in the Chronicles of Embers. You're going to have Amberites. You're going to have, they're going to interpret the magic system. You can take Trump magics, teleport magics, all those sorts of things from the Chronicles of Amber proper in that world and building and series. So it's heavily influenced by the Chronicles of Amber. It also pushes this, just like Angband pushed a lot of the things from, you can move across the ground, you can go to different places, you got different dungeons, and so forth. It's fun stuff. I like it a lot. So that's number 2, Zangband for you folks. It's Zelazny-inspired Angband. There's a lot of other things out there, like Cthulhu band or Burn band is Amalekite phrase that are in the P band too. I'll take the Angband and push it, try to make it harder, different, or more flavorful too. All right, so that's number 2. Number 1 is number 1. Absolutely should be. It's a current game, still in development. It's Tales of Maj'Eyal for you folks. It's currently playable on Steam, where I actually purchased it. Bought it, so I can unlock achievements, that sort of thing. This is a very different. It's definitely an upgrade of Zangband, as you can see, but it's actually pretty different. It tries to be a little easier, a little more open-ended for new people to the game world of roguelikes. It doesn't actually treat them like idiots or bad guys or horrible like Moria. It just makes it hard for them to win. And this is actually a tale. It's got a plot, characters you have to win by doing things in the plot. You have dungeons you've got to explore, a world to explore to. Lots of things that are actually happening. So it feels less like a dungeon crawl and more like an actual proper game. Level up for that reason. Loads for you folks. Now, I also want to pull out that there are some games out there that you might have been familiar with that are inspired by Rogue and Angband. You know, for example, Diablo. Heavily inspired by. It's just Angband with less abilities, less stuff, but better graphics, right? So there are some games out there you might be familiar with if you haven't been familiar with those sorts of things too. So that's number 1, Tales of Maj'Eyal for you folks. So once again, here in my top 5, plus the honorable mention. The honorable mention at number 6, if you will, is Rogue. Rogue proper. At number 5. Moria. Number 4, Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. Number 3 is Angband. Number 2 is Zangband with a Z. And number 1 is Tales of Maj'Eyal for you folks. So I'm assuming I pronounced that right. I don't know if I actually did. Which I bought on Steam. So there you are. Those are my 5 favorite. Now this is my list. Your list may differ. It's not a problem at all. Have you played these games? Have you heard of them? If so, what do you think about it? Did you agree or disagree with them on my list? Would you add something? Would you tap something? That's fine. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, why not hit the subscribe button, the like button, the bell icon if you're feeling frisky, and let your friends know too, particularly video game friends, roguelike friends, like and such. All right, let them all know. And there you are. As a reminder, this channel's name is The Worst Thing About New Books. That's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was they kept us from reading the old ones, right? These are definitely older games that have been very influential on our modern game, but we may not always give them the respect that they may deserve. So check them out. And then finally, I want to pause just to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video, because we all have so many things, right, that are happening in our lives, and pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spend time with me, it's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it so much. So once again, thanks so much for your time, and have an amazing day.